Hello, and welcome to the 9th episode of The Possibility of Poetry. My name is Jackie, and I've been an English teacher for around 30 years. And I am here to tell you that there is not one big truth that is lurking inside a poem, waiting for you to just use enough of your cognitive power to unleash it. A poem is what speaks to you. A poem is what you make of it. If you get one little image out of a poem, that's a win. If the rest of it is like, no idea what they're talking about, that's fine. Take that one image, use that one image, realize the possibility of that one image. So welcome today. It is the end of August. Autumn is in the air. I've been thinking about seasons, and I think about autumn and spring. They're kind of like these transitional seasons. March comes in like a lion and out like a lamb, which is not true here in the PNW. March is pretty much still winter. The rain is a little bit warmer, but fall in the PNW is so gorgeous. And it's the same thing. It starts as summer. It starts as these beautiful warm days. And then by the end of it, we're stuck in that unrelenting rain. So I think of like summer and winter. Those are just solid seasons. There's some variation. They're solid. But autumn, it's a transitional season. So today's possibility of poetry is the possibility of companionship. Because this transition, it can be a little rough. You're going from this bright sunshine, things are growing, people are happy you're outside, to a more solitary existence, the getting ready for winter, the downtime of the year when the earth takes a break. And well, again, in the PNW, it's dark by 4 o'clock in the afternoon and everybody just wants to go to bed. So that's our possibility today, the possibility of companionship in these transition times. So we've talked before about Freud. We talked about, there we go again with that iceberg, right? That what we know consciously is just tip of the iceberg, and there's so much going on underneath in our subconscious. And we talked about Carl Jung, who was a protege of Freud, thought that some of his stuff was not maybe correct. Maybe it's not always the mother's fault. But he did believe in that subconscious. And within that, he believed in something called the collective unconscious, which is that just by being human, that there is a part of our brain that is shared. And okay, it sounds a little woo-woo, but he said that this collective part of our brain is why we're all kind of attracted to the same sort of things. I mean, okay, when you think about it, it's kind of like animals. A bird, nobody teaches the bird how to fly. No one teaches the bird how to find a worm. No one teaches, there's this instinct. And you get it just because you're a bird. Same sort of thing with the collective unconscious. But of course it's I don't know if I want to call it more complicated. That sounds, I don't know, not like humanistic. I don't know. Like somehow we're better or more complicated. We're just very different. So that's his idea. And in this collective unconscious, our archetypes are imprints of loneliness, of these transition periods, of going in deep to yourself, of reflection. That's what we're going to be looking at in our poem today. So a tarot card that goes with this, and I'm going to put it right up here, is the Hermit. So the Hermit is just that, to turn inward, to look at spiritual growth and healing and knowledge, just to go within The reverse, remember last time we talked about the Eight of Cups reversed, that somehow it's the opposite thing, is to take that solitariness and turn it into loneliness, turn it into something negative. But the Hermit and the poem that we're going to read today is about that loneliness being a positive force, a necessary force, something that all humans go through. That's where we're talking about companionship. And we're going to come up with a crazy idea that maybe the poem itself can be a companion to you in a time of loneliness. All right, you ready? Okay. This is by a German poet, Rainer Maria Rilke. He wrote in the late 19th, early 20th century. So you're going to hear that in the poem, that some of his language is more formal than the language we've been hearing in like Wild Geese and Margaret Atwood's The Crow Song. So for this one, the poetry technique, think about imagery. Right? This is a big thing in poetry because they're using words to make pictures and experiences for you. So think about that as we're reading through. So what do we got? 5 senses. We got touch, we got taste, we got sight, we got sound, we got smell. So as we're going through this poem, think about experiencing these words with your senses. All right, ready? All right. This is a lot, isn't it? This is a lot for this one. Okay, so remember how we do it. I'm going to read it through once, and you close your eyes or just be with the poem, see what filters in. No pressure, no pressure, no pressure ever. Why would you do poetry? Why would you read poetry if it's just going to stress you out? There's no pressure. Then we take maybe a beat or two, and then I read it again and again. What happens? What do you experience? All right, here we go. This poem is called Autumn Day. Lord, it is time. The summer was immense. Lay your shadow on the sundials and let loose the wind in the fields. Bid the last fruits to be full. Give them another 2 more southerly days. Press them to ripeness and chase the last sweetness into the heavy wine. Whoever has no house now will not build one anymore. Whoever is alone now will remain so for a long time, will stay up, read, write long letters, and wander the avenues up and down restlessly while the leaves are blowing. All right, let's hear it again. Lord, it is time. The summer was immense. Lay your shadow on the sundials and let loose the wind in the fields. Bid the last fruits to be full. Give them another 2 more southerly days. Press them to ripeness and chase the last sweetness into the heavy wine. Whoever has no house now will not build one anymore. Whoever is alone now will remain so for a long time. Will stay up, read, write long letters, and wander the avenues up and down restlessly while the leaves are blowing. Okay, let's talk about it a little bit. So this poem has what's called existential atmosphere. Isn't that a big, beautiful word? Don't you feel smart even hearing that word? Existential. Oh, it just means existence. So this poem is about existence. Collective unconscious. There we go. So I've heard existential in the past, mostly about like existential dread. Like, I don't know. I'm sorry, a goth teenager comes to mind when I think about existential dread. So it's just the dread of existence. So this is just an atmosphere, just relating to existence. So the speaker of the poem, remember we've talked about authors and not necessarily speaker, at first is kind of just this acceptance, this world weary, Lord, it is time. This happens every year. In my collective conscious, it's happened for millennium. It's time. The summer was immense. Oh, and I love that word because, because immense just means big. But so many things can be immense. The weather can be immense. My thoughts about it can be immense. My relationships can be immense. Like, it just embodies, that solid season of summer. Ooh, that was alliteration. Remember, we've talked about that same first sound. Solid season of summer. Mm-hmm. Poetry just slips in, doesn't it? Woo! So he's kind of talking to the Lord, to God. Lay your shadow on the sundials, right? There's that passage of time, the sundial, and let loose the wind in the fields. Ugh. So he's really like that. To me is a sound. We talked about imagery. The wind in the fields is a sound. Can you hear it? You ever been outside when that autumn wind? I mean, it's not even cold yet. It's just you can just feel a tiny thread of it. Oh my gosh, I'm hearing it. I'm hearing it. I hope you're hearing it too. All right, so there's that imagery. Bid the last fruits to be full. I'm thinking about my garden right now and the gorgeous tomatoes that are full. Give them another 2 more southerly days. So 2 more days of summer, southerly. A brief reprieve. Like the speaker is acknowledging, yeah, the summer was great. Thank you so much. Now it's time to move on. But just can we hold on 2 more southerly days? Please, just 2 more, a little reprieve. Let me get used to it. Press them to ripeness and chase the last sweetness into the heavy wine, which you will be drinking in the winter, right? Just like canning and preserving and all of that other nonsense, taking that bit of summer with you. So first he talks about whoever has no house now will not build one anymore. So to me, that sounds a lot more like nature, right? I don't think it's somebody actually with, a human with boards and that sort of thing building a house. But I think about, squirrels and other animals that, it's fall, it's time to come in. Oh, I have one right there, a really huge house spider. Oh, my poor sisters, they're so scared of house spiders. They send me pictures. But, he's just looking for a house for the winter. He's coming on in. Hey, babe. Actually, it's probably female, right? Hey, babe. Welcome. Come on in. But then it changes to indoor, right? So outdoor, you're building your house. Now, whoever is alone now will remain so for a long time. This is our time of rest. This is our time of introspection. The hermit, again, this is our time to take stock and relax and taste the summer's fullness in our wine. See, it doesn't sound so lonely, does it? It sounds kind of positive. Maybe. So, whoever is alone now will remain so for a long time. We'll stay up. We'll read. We'll write long letters. But then so that's the inside, right? But then we move outside again and wander the avenues up and down restlessly while the leaves are blowing. And see, that to me connects back to the wind in the fields, right? It's the autumn coming. It's the wind coming to sweep away the summer and, take us into this place of rest and loneliness. Yeah. But is loneliness a bad thing? There's that the common idea of like, I'm not lonely because I'm alone. But maybe you are. Maybe it is lonely. Maybe you didn't get your ducks in a row and find someone to spend the long winter with, or find something like the poem. So let's go back to imagery before we do any more analysis. So we've got the sweetness of the heavy wine, right? We've got taste. We've already talked about sound, the wind in the field. We talk about, I don't see like really like a smell, right? But maybe just that the summer was immense. Can have that sort of thing. But always poem is sight, right? You can see the fruit in the field. You can see the leaves blowing, right? As this person is wandering the avenues up and down. So is the person like a leaf? Is that person restless and blowing like the leaves are restless and blowing? Is he making a connection between what we see outside of ourselves and what's happening inside of ourselves? That feels good though. A balance, right? An equilibrium between what's outside and what's inside. I think we've talked before about Freud and Jung, and that's their idea of our psyche when we hit maybe not happiness but contentment, if our outside and our inside are mirrored. So this poem, this autumn, it just started me thinking about loneliness. And, I think about companionship and, what is the purpose of companionship? It's just, to me, it's to have somebody to do stuff with. And it's somebody that understands me. Another old adage is like, you can be lonely in a crowded room because there's nobody that's thinking, I don't want to say on your level because that makes it sound hierarchical, and it's not. Just somebody that thinks the same way you do, someone that understands and looks at the world the same way that you do. So yeah, can the poem be a companion? Can we accept this loneliness of autumn, of going into winter, as a natural cycle of things, as something that is positive, that we get to go inward? So today we're going to do something a little different. I'm going to talk about a couple of other people and what they say about loneliness. So there's a very famous poet. Her name is Emily Dickinson. Never really been my favorite. She writes kind of like short, like kind of pithy poems, but with great meaning. But here's what she says. It might be lonelier without the loneliness. Oh, Emily, getting deep. Let's hear it again. It might be lonelier without the loneliness. Emily. So she's saying the loneliness itself is a companion, that you can make your loneliness something that you sit with, something that understands you, that is your companion. I like that. That's powerful. Because sometimes loneliness, when we think about loneliness, we look outside of ourselves like, I need a friend. I need somebody to talk to. Somebody needs to do something about my loneliness. And here's Emily Dickinson saying, no, loneliness itself. All I need is myself. That can be my companion. Oh, love that. That's powerful. Here's another one by another woman of that era. Her name's Fanny Howe. She says, my vagabondage is unlonelied by poems. Cute. My vagabondage is unlonelied by poems. Okay, let's deconstruct that. It's so short and so full of meaning. So first of all, vagabond, that's a very old-fashioned word, but it means like a traveler, but not a traveler in like cruise ships, like a wanderer. You're a vagabond. But then she turns it into vagabondage. So bondage, of course, besides being an S&M thing, is like you're tied up. Like she can do nothing but travel and wander. That is her vagabondage. I love making up new words because, I don't know if this is in the dictionary, but we understand what it means, and that's what matters. Not so much that it's, like I said, it's like in a dictionary, like it's official. We know what that word means, and that's a powerful word. Vagabondage is unlonelied. Fanny, again, making up a word. Unlonely isn't a word, but we know exactly what it means to not be lonely by poems. Because poems can offer that deep companionship. We've gone through this. That's our possibility of poetry. You can have a deep companionship with a poem because it understands you at that level. At that level that you're in a crowded room and you're not alone because you got this poem in your pocket. You got this poem in your head. Yes. So back to tarot. The Hermit. The autumn. Going into a place of introspection, of being by yourself. That doesn't have to be being lonely. But accepting the loneliness itself as a companion, accepting the poem as a companion. All right. Well, I hope you are having a lovely transition from summer and the ripeness of the fruits to autumn and the restless leaves blowing. I'm so glad you joined me. Take care.